Welcome to the Insight Edit, the podcast where we unpack everything to do with video production and what's behind actually creating the content that we create for our clients. Today, we're going to talk about AI, and in particular, a Christmas film which we've just created and it's now on LinkedIn for you to watch. Let me introduce you to Harry, who was instrumental in creating the AI film, and today we're going to talk about why we did it and what the process was. So today, what we're going to talk about is the Christmas advert, but more importantly, how we made it, the process that we went through, why we made it, why we decided to make an AI film altogether, and just kind of see how it goes, really. So let's just kick off. So the journey to Forever Christmas, talk to us about how it came about.
Well, we had made the decision internally that we were going to make an AI film.
Yep.
But I think to start with, we wanted to just start from a place of forget how we're making it, what can we make as a Christmas film. So we all went away as an internal team and came up with different ideas, came together for a creative meeting, and everyone sort of like put forward their different ideas. The idea of the fish having this sort of Christmas story of a lonely goldfish, and then finally makes a friend, makes a goldfish.
And then we stop there because we don't want to tell everyone the story, do we, at this point?
Oh, okay.
Do we not?
Well, I assume this was behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, you're right. Now, carry on.
I assume people have said, go pause here, go watch the film, come back if you haven't.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we had the idea of this goldfish, and the goldfish supposedly forget. So he gets to keep meeting his friend over and over again, and we thought that could be quite a sweet story.
I just want to interrupt you. I think we should say that there were other brilliant ideas. Some of them probably a little bit crazier than others, but we did go with the emotional idea. Yes. Although there were some other real good fun ideas that the team came up with. Yeah,
we were quite keen to do something that was story driven rather than just like a little, waving Santa animation. Yes. We wanted to do something that could take the opportunity a little bit further with AI. I was quite keen for it not to look photoreal, not to be something that was supposedly, AI trying to replicate something that had actually been filmed. I think anything with human characters starts to come off a little bit. It's not quite there yet, and even if it even does get better in the future, there's always just still something.
Yeah, and I think people just kind of disconnect with that kind of stuff, don't they?
I think that's where sort of McDonald's and perhaps Coke this year have gone wrong, is going for this supposedly photoreal style. Initially, we were going for more like an animated Pixar kind of look,
but we didn't want to. It was very clear, wasn't it, that we didn't want it to look Pixar. We didn't want it to look Studio Ghibli. We didn't want it to look like anything that the big Hollywood studios have been putting out for years, right? So we didn't want to emulate any of those kind of styles.
No, we didn't. We wanted to come up with our own style. So initially, we were trying to think of some sort of 3D look. We had this as just sort of a concept image, but yeah. I think we decided even that was like a little bit too Pixar-y, wasn't it? We liked the idea of the goldfish, but a bit too Pixar-y. We just didn't want to go there, did we? Yes, I mean, we went into all sorts of different character designs. Ryan went away and tried out all sorts of different styles that we could do, and we were trying to find what's going to be the most sort of emotionally connecting, and we settled on this sort of idea of
paper mache
fish. Yeah, so that was our initial sort of.
And how long did just doing coming up with the kind of the look and feel of the fish, how long did that kind of take?
To get to a point where we were settled on the idea of doing this paper mache style was probably about 2-3 hours.
Right.
Sort of just generating different things, basically seeing what AI came back with.
Yeah.
But then later when it came to designing the actual characters for the video and the environment and the human characters that would sort of fit into that paper world, I mean, that was a couple of days of just trying different things.
So where did the inspiration come from anywhere for the story, or did you just...
I cannot even remember. I remember just coming to the meeting and the idea just popping into my head.
Okay.
Just before the meeting, to be honest, I just suddenly had this idea of what would happen if you could have, because all these Christmas adverts, there's always this like nice joyous moment.
That's
it's
right.
Like, what if you get stuck in that and relive it over
Yeah.
and over and over again, and then the idea of the goldfish sort of came into that. So
and obviously you named the two characters, which is I think rather sweet.
I couldn't just call it orange fish, purple fish in all of the files, so we named them Gary and Susie just as something to label them.
And there's a reason why Gary and Susie, or just you thought they'd be good names?
I think Connor came up with Susie.
Oh, right.
I really.
And you came up with Gary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary the goldfish.
Right, Gary the goldfish. Love it. Okay. So let's start talking about the process. Okay, because I think there is this misnomer, and you see it a lot on LinkedIn, where people have put out posts and said, "Oh, we made this film for $150," and actually, and it took me, 2 or 3 days. And actually, I think a lot of that is a total fallacy, isn't it? If you are doing it in a professional production environment, it's a very different thing.
Yeah, I think there is sort of a conception that you just type a prompt into a computer, it gives you the result, end of. There is a lot of prompting, there is a lot of the computer generating a lot of the content, but there's also a lot of manual work that still has to go into it to turn those raw clips into actual usable.
Yeah. So let's talk about the process then. Let's just literally start from the very, very beginning.
Sure. Okay. So going through the process, the first thing to do was to come up with the idea. We've talked about that, but I was quite keen for this to be written still by humans.
Yeah.
So, I've seen some other AI films where perhaps the story and everything was written by ChatGPT. The idea came from these large language models, and there's actually nothing human even about the idea. So I wanted to make sure the story and everything about what we were going to be making came from ourselves.
Yeah.
And then the next thing was to look into the music. I wanted, you see a lot of these Christmas films, your John Lewis ones, your whatever. They've always got a very emotional song. Connor had the great idea of taking what would usually be an upbeat Christmas song and doing a sort of slow ballad version of it. Yeah. We wanted the idea of Christmas every day. So we were going to take that as a sort of creative starting point and reformat that into.
So what we weren't going to do, and it's important to say this, I think, is what we weren't going to do was copy the song. We have not copied the song, have we?
The only lyric that is the same as the song is "I wish it could be Christmas every day." Yeah. Other than that, we've gone in and written new lyrics. So we did that with Gemini, and that came up with most of the lyrics. It got me most of the way there. So basically, I've just sort of suggested. Lyrics like the original song. It's come back with all sorts of different things. So that was most of the song that actually made it into the film is there.
And why those lyrics? What was it about those lyrics?
I don't know. A lot of them felt a little bit, when you AI write something and it's just a little bit kind of, nobody would really write that. This one sort of felt on theme. It felt, there's a lot of themes about loneliness as well, and that kind of like tied into the idea of the goldfish that we had, talking about the empty space. It goes on about a king without a throne. That felt weird to me, so I just asked it to go back in and revise that option. It came back with drifting on the ocean foam.
Right.
Instead, again, didn't quite feel right, and then that's where I went in, and then the only human lyric is drifting in the vast unknown.
Yes,
so
okay.
I've got 2 words in there. The rest of it is AI. I then fed that
Felt like a collaboration in some respects.
Sure, yeah. But that is kind of what it feels like in a way. Is like it feels like you're the director, and then the AI is your entire crew.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that kind of relationship where you're constantly just asking for things, and it's bringing back the creativity back to you. So that's the sort of relationship of it. Then took that into Suno, which is this online AI platform that can generate music,
which is fantastic. I think there are hits out there that have been generated through this platform.
You'll be surprised how much of the music on Spotify now is actually coming from Suno.
Yeah.
It's really.
Isn't there? I think there's a country and western singer that is topping the charts in America, completely AI. This guy doesn't even exist. It's a male voice, doesn't even exist, and they're like top hits. It's crazy. Anyway, so we went to Suno.
We put in the lyrics, and I had asked Gemini to come up with these style tags, which is a way of describing to Suno what kind of music you want. Gemini had come up with the list to try and get something that emulates that sort of Christmas song style. We did 2 versions. One, this slow ballad song, which came out about a minute 49. And then I did another version, which was the upbeat version of the song, which again is a minute and 30 seconds. Yeah. So then I've gone into Premiere, manually edited those together, find a nice beat where it cuts, because I wanted it to be slow and ballady at the beginning, and then
to build up the emotion,
the sad part, and then the sort of comical ending switches to the upbeat version.
Yeah.
Once we had the music, we kind of then, originally we were planning to make like a 20, 30 second film.
We were, yes. That was the idea originally.
That was the idea.
Guys, we need a 30 second film, not a 2-minute film.
But by the time the music was there, it came out at 2 minutes, and it was just too good at that point not to go through and fill all of that, because as soon as I listened to the music through, I could see the whole film start to finish. And so I went through and I could imagine bit by bit what would be in there. And so I've gone through and shot listed against the music and timed it out. So I could visualize as the music shifts and as the, different instruments come in, where we would want to see the different
images,
shots in the film.
and different kinds of emotions within the characters, and obviously, all of the characters that are in the film.
And as soon as I visualized that, I was like, well, that's just what I've got to make.
Yeah.
I can't reimagine this as 20 seconds. Like this just needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
isn't that? I mean, that in some respects is sort of in some respects the sort of beauty of this AI of AI, isn't it? Because if you think we went and created this in 3D, right, in Cinema 4D or whatever, it would take 4 times longer, but also you wouldn't then say, it would be like, no, we have to make a 30-second film because we've only got X amount of time and we can do 30 seconds in that amount of time. Except with AI, I guess the beauty of this is that you can go, I can't see this as a 30-second film, but I know I can make a 1.5-minute film.
I mean, I think a lot of that freedom came from the fact of making it being an internal project. And we can do whatever we want. I think, were we in the situation of we had to make a 30-second film, we easily could have either with AI or 3D.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to have that freedom on this one to just go and make something.
Yeah.
So basically, once I had a shot list like this, it was then on to starting to generate things. So the general process going through it was generating sort of look and feel and a world. I took those original characters that Ryan had created, and I asked Gemini to describe the art style of those fish. So it came back with a description of paper mache style.
And did you maybe it's a little step back, just to let me know. So you didn't create these as video to start with, though, did you? You went through and created a lot of still imagery to begin with.
The general, the overview was create a still image with Gemini, Photoshop it a little bit if it needs it. Then it's for some shots generating an end frame as well. So you got the beginning and the end of each video clip as a still. And then you would give that to an image to video generator, and it would generate the video to go start to finish. Then I would usually take that into Topaz, slow it down, make it upscale it, and then you'd have a video clip that you could then start bringing into the edit.
Yeah.
But before I got to that, I kind of wanted to develop that art style first, so that each character and background all felt cohesive in the sort of paper world that we'd come up with. So I asked for a living room, and sort of Gemini had given me this living room here, which looked great. But I wanted to bring in our brand colours and make it a little bit more suited to us. So I gave it our brand colours, and then asked it to reimagine the room in our brand colours. It gave me this very, very vibrant version. And then it was a case of taking that to Photoshop and finding a middle ground.
Right.
And then I also started to add like the journey graphics and stuff into the pictures and really sort of just make it sort of an NRG living room in this weird.
So what you're saying
world.
is you're not wholly relying on AI.
No, it's very much a back and forth, getting Gemini to do the heavy lifting and then coming in and fine tweaking with Photoshop. And that was the process for a lot of the start and end frames, was getting Gemini to create certain things, make big changes, and then compositing all sorts of different images together to create exactly what I was trying to get at.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely a back and forth between Photoshop and Gemini.
So very much that kind of human element still within this process, massively human element within this process.
Yes, absolutely. And I always kind of had the image in my head of what I wanted, and then it was trying to get that out of Gemini. So yeah, you can see here this developing.
Yeah. And this is the one we went with, wasn't it?
This is the room we went with, yeah. There was only ever actually one room. The first room it generated looked great. I just worked on the colours and the certain furniture and stuff in the room. And yeah, I asked for a Christmas version. It's added the tree and the presents and all the decorations. And I knew I was going to need a series of different states of this room, before Christmas, during Christmas, daytime, nighttime. So I was able to reimagine the same image throughout the day.
It looks like from these images that the AI tool did a really good job with reimagining those images at different times during the day.
It did, and also different perspectives of the room. What actually surprised me was if we'd tried to make this film a few weeks ago, we couldn't have done it in the same way because the new version of Gemini came out as we were making this, and it was so much smarter to be able to, give it that wide shot of the room and just say, well, now can you generate a new image of just the bottom of the tree? And it's not just zooming in, it's actually understanding the 3D layout of the room, all the different objects that are there, and positioning the camera somewhere else. And I was able to be quite specific with it. Like, I want it on this lens, this kind of composition, this kind of depth of field, this kind of lighting, and it can understand all of that. And yeah, I worked with it to create all these different frames, and then was able to use them as start and end frames to create the videos. But yeah, you can see endless chats here.
So endless prompts, endless imagery to generate these images effectively.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, it's not a case of just you put a prompt in and it comes up with it, job done. Did you do hundreds or thousands of images to come to the stuff that you eventually said yes to?
There was 69 Gemini conversations. So in each of those conversations, there might have been 10 or 15 different images that came from it. And I kept starting new chats for each topic because it starts to get confused and overlap. So every time I wanted to do something new, I'd start a new chat. Yeah. So about 70 odd Gemini chats. Of those, I downloaded 124 Gemini images. So there would have been vast more that weren't downloaded, and iterations of those images that weren't. But downloaded 124. And then when it came to the video generations, we used 11 hours and 20 minutes of Mid-Journey graphics card time. And that was 357 total video generations.
For a film that's got how many actual clips in it?
45 actual shots.
There you go.
And yeah, of those 357, only 66 were downloaded. But we used all sorts of different video generators. We used Mid-Journey, Firefly, VO, Kling, Pika, and a bunch of others. But yeah, by far Mid-Journey was the one doing the most.
Okay.
But was getting better results from some of the others. So it was a case of when Mid-Journey wasn't quite doing it, I'd then go to one of the other ones. But yeah, that was generally the flow of it, was create all the start and end frames and then describe the kind of motion that I need, and then it would then bring it to life. A lot of the time it would come up with some really crazy results.
The floating off the ladder, I think, was one of them,
it just goes daft after a while. So a lot of the time I'm using the first few frames from a video generation. They always go on for 5 seconds, but it's usually the first 1 or 2 seconds, and then slowing that down and
so taking that into Topaz and slowing it down.
Taking it into Topaz, slowing it down, upscaling it, and doing all sorts of different things with it.
I think I heard a great phrase at an event I went to, an AI event I went to recently. What happens is the AI starts to hallucinate.
Yes.
Which basically is probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It tries to interpret the prompt you've got, and it does it gets a certain way into the generation. Yeah. And then it gets so far away from that start frame that it starts to lose track of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
The other thing you'll notice is that a lot of these aren't complete shots. So something that was quite tricky is trying to get the correct performance out of the fish, and actually trying to get it to do the right facial expressions and do something that actually conveys emotion. Because a lot of the time, the kind of performances that you'd get back out of this, it's just strange. And sometimes it would go cross-eyed, and it becomes really tricky to actually try and get the performance you want. So
I love the little boy just back from there trying to smack his sister over the head with some papier-mâché kite.
You're supposed to just be taking the lid off, and all of a sudden these massive
diamond
thing. Brilliant. And this one top right is really weird as Dad comes sliding over with a present. But in terms of getting these performances, it's a case of generating quite a few, watching it through, trying to spot that moment where the fish does something like, oh, that looks like it's conveying that emotion, extracting that, slowing that down. And then because that was going to be the process, there was no way I could get the background to also do the right thing at the same time. So it's about doing it on solid green or solid white, get that segment,
and then start compositing.
So once we've done all the video generations through Mid-Journey, and these are a few through NIM, it's then becomes a case of, these were the ones on the higher, the better video generators, which use more credits and stuff like that. So again, you still get crazy stuff in this, but once we've got all those video clips, it's then a case of, like we've mentioned a few times, taking it into Topaz, just upscaling it, which gives you a better result.
Yeah.
And then it's onto the compositing. So it's
again another AI platform, isn't it? Topaz is an AI platform.
Yeah. Using sort of video generative models to generate the frames in between the one that already exist. So yeah, another AI platform. But then it becomes more manual once you take it into After Effects. This is one of the compositions here, and that you can see becomes this final shot here. But that is made up of 3 separate video clips there. So you've got
This
the
one?
tank on red.
Yeah, this one. Then obviously the fish.
Yeah.
And the dad.
Yeah. So all of these shots, like this one is the opening shot. It's different passes that all sort of come together.
And were there any shots in this where you had more challenges than some of the other shots?
I think that, like I've said, the most challenging ones are the ones where you're trying to get an emotional performance out of the fish, and trying to find these moments where there's a relatable expression coming out of the fish. So they're definitely the more challenging ones. The process generally from clip to clip is pretty much the same. It's finding the different layers of the clip and combining them together to create the final edit.
One of the aspects, of course, with generating video clips through AI platforms, and I know some platforms now do have sound, don't they? But the platforms that we use don't have sound, so we have to do sound design.
Yes, I mean, so some of the video generations I did come back with sound, some of them didn't. But
And what was the sound like?
terrible. Because the other problem was that because I was generating it in passes on a solid green background, it's giving me weird sounds that fit in this weird green void world. So it's not, giving me the kind of sounds that we actually want to put against the clips. And all those sounds are going to be distinct to every single clip. So even if it did give me great sound for one clip in a wide shot, I cut to a close-up, it's imagined a whole different soundscape for that close-up. So you have to still go in and do a whole sound edit. There are platforms that can generate sound effects. So there was a world in which all of the sound effects in the film could have been AI generated, but all the sounds exist. So it's actually just quicker just to download the actual sounds that have been existed by sound recordists.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can see, basically all of the green clips are the sound design.
Yeah.
The top 2 layers here are the music, and then Ryan went through and built out the sound edit. Most of it was still from the sound libraries that existing sound recordists have gone out and actually recorded sounds, because it's generally quicker and those are high quality sounds, so we may as well use them.
Absolutely. And we used, what platform did we use for that?
Artlist is our
Artlist,
place we go to for sound effects, amongst a few others. But there were a few instances where Ryan couldn't quite find the right sound, and in the past you might have just spent ages trying to find it, or gone out and actually recorded something yourself. But I think in this case, for a couple of these clips, he's actually gone onto 11 Labs, which is another AI platform where you can just generate sound from text prompts.
Right.
And so there's a few sounds in there that are AI generated as well. But still, the vast majority of it is just done in the traditional sense of downloading clips and bringing it in there.
And were the sound effects, I mean, it sounds like sort of an obvious thing to say, but were the sound effects very obvious of what sound effects had to go with which shot? Or was there any discussion between you and Ryan about, well, actually, why don't we try something different here, or why don't we try something else that might feel sort of to enhance a scene beyond just the visuals?
Yeah, so I mean, the first pass I watched, I felt like the underwater sounds, while they made a lot of sense, they, especially the first half of the film, detracted a little bit from just the quiet, settled kind of vibe that we wanted from the sad looking fish. Later on, when they're swimming around more, it's a little bit louder, so there was a bit of balancing.
Brilliant.
There. And then there was a bit of discussion about, do we bring in the voices of the human characters, because you do see their lips move, and there's nothing I could have done about that. But we sort of decided, well, the fish is all told from under the water, so maybe we distort and muffle out the voices, and so you can't actually tell what they're saying.
Yeah.
But those human voices are just in there. And I don't know what effect Ryan put on it, but it's got quite like a nostalgic kind of sound to it. It's like an echoey kind of thing.
It has.
I think that just adds to the sort of...
Heightens the moment.
Yeah, heightens the emotion of that. So yeah, it was just once we'd locked the edit, which was taking all those clips, and all the edit does match the initial shot listing pretty closely.
And the pacing, obviously,
as well. Obviously, yeah. So there was no room to have more footage than we needed and then craft it like an edit. It was very much like, from this point in time to this point in time, we generate this clip and fill that with what we plan to do.
And did you go, if I was thinking of sort of traditional edit, even with an animation, when you edit an animation together, did you look, when you looked back through the film, did you go, actually, it would be quite nice if at that point we did X? I've got this generated, but actually I think what we need to do is the fish needs to, I don't know, wink or something, or do a little bit more of a movement. Did you replace any of the shots?
I don't know that I did. I think the way that I went through it was the first half is a lot more structured and planned out than the second half. So the first half was the slow build with the music. That was all very, very planned out. And I basically built the edit with the green screen footage first.
Okay,
so I had a version of the edit which was just the green screen clips. And then I went through and did all the compositing afterwards. So the edit was already built by the time I was generating the composited clips. The second half of it, where it's the montage of them swimming around, that was a lot more, let me just put any old prompt in, see what kind of movements I get back, and then trying to... I didn't really have a plan from that, other than this whole solidly blocked out section that just said montage. And I was then just grabbing all those green screen clips, cutting them together, seeing what kind of reaction shots I could get between the fish and the looks they gave to each other.
Just ensuring you weren't losing the power of that story that was there.
I mean, the story had been set up at that point. It's just the punchline, so it's just finding the funniest generation clips that came back and the biggest sort of wide-eyed smiles that I could get, and finding logical ways of cutting that together. So that last sort of third is very much just sort of found in the edit. The rest of it is much more structured. Yeah.
If you were to critique this, what are the things that you would critique about it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a bonus in that you can make it quicker. It's still not, in a day, but it's a lot quicker. If we were to do this in the traditional method 3D, it would have taken weeks and weeks to, do all the modelling, all of the animation, all of the... The problem is you are very limited, that you can have a certain idea in your head of what it is you want to create, but at the end of the day, you are reliant on what it's going to give back to you.
Yeah.
So you do have to shift your ideas and change and adapt to what you're able to get out. I think it's a little bit comparable to how you would make a documentary, actually, compared to a normal standard film, in that you might go out on a documentary with an idea of this is the film I'm going to make, but you go out and you get back a load of stuff that is maybe slightly different to what you want.
Things change on a documentary, don't they? Something might happen in your story. I've started with this story, but actually what's happened is this is a better story to tell.
Yes, and while I think with this you're a little bit more control, you can keep the same general story in terms of the specific shots you want to get. You're going to get back something and you've got to adapt and work to it.
So one of the things I remember you saying to me, Harry, was that, if we were to do it in the traditional way of sketching each of the characters out, coming up with a papier-mâché idea, putting it all through Cinema 4D or another 3D package, you would get a lot more consistency. Because I remember you saying if you look closely within the fish, there is inconsistencies in the look and feel of the fish. Overall, they look the same, but actually, to our professional eye,
I don't think. I mean, maybe on a first watch, if you're invested in the story, you won't notice.
No, of course you won't. Absolutely not.
It is glaringly different. Like, this fish here is designed different to this fish here. It becomes really quite obvious later on. Like, this one looks kind of plastic, the other one looks more papery. The design here again is different. Towards the end, the way that the expressions are animated here, it's one kind of style where they really look quite animated, I think, in this shot. Whereas earlier, again, he's quite animated. He's got floating eyebrows there. That's the only time that we have floating eyebrows. Whereas earlier on, the design here is completely different. This one looks like it's made up of lots of different individual pieces of paper. The other ones are like crumpled paper mache. And maybe if you spent weeks and weeks doing loads and loads of generations, you might be able to get more consistency. And
what you just said, I think, is an important point. You might be able to,
and you're going to spend as much time as if you were to do it normally.
But if we had gone down the traditional route of doing this, probably about 6 months ago, let's be fair, you can guarantee that consistency throughout. Because you're effectively building, 2 fish, and once they're built, then you animate them.
Yes, exactly. And I think what we're in danger of happening is it's just a limitation of the medium, so you kind of accept it. In the same way that if you're making a traditional film and one of your actors gives you a bad performance and you get there into the edit, you sort of go, well, that's a limitation of filmmaking. We've got to work with this bad performance to make it work. What happens with AI is that you get something that's subpar quality, the characters aren't consistent, it looks weird, but you just go, well, we have to live with it. And what happens is the end result suffers as a result, because you are just going, well, there's nothing we can do about it. So I think this was a great experiment to see what is possible. But again, I think you're sacrificing too much just for the sake of being able to do it within a week. You still watch it at the end and you're just like, even though the story's coming across great and we're telling the story and it's cute and fun,
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's
the technical side of it is still lacking.
Yes.
And we purposely went for these weird fish characters and not humans. Like if we'd done this with people, you would really start to see the inconsistencies a lot.
I'm hoping what will happen is people have seen this and the story has drawn them in enough, because it is a lovely story, and with the music and kind of everything together. I remember the first time I watched it, and I really wanted to make sure that, yes, I came over occasionally, kind of looked over his shoulder a bit, but I wanted to, because when we make films, I get to see a lot of them all the time. So by the time they go out, I've seen it a million times, and you've seen it a million times, and the team's seen it a million times. But I wanted to be with this one detached from it. So I got that initial, what's it going to be like? And I remember on the morning you showed us, you were quite nervous, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was, like you say, interested to see how people were going to respond to it, and whether I was hoping that the story would still come across. You
Which
would
it
get
does.
this idea that the fish are forgetting and re-meeting each other, and not just happy to see each other all day long. Like I wanted to make sure that landed, and I think it does come across. But it's definitely been an interesting experiment into what's possible.
So what would you do next if you had free reign? Like we did with this one, total free creative reign, what would you do next?
I mean,
what would you learn? Not rather than you. What would you like collectively as a company? What would you like us to do next?
In terms of AI?
Yeah, just in terms of AI, in terms of building a film, in terms of...
Well, I think there's things we can take out of this, like the Suno music was probably the strongest element of the AI in this. There's probably applications that we can find for these different things. But I think we still need to be very clear if we decide to do another AI film in the future as to why we're doing it. I think there's a sort of a gimmick at the moment of everyone jumping onto the idea of let's just do AI because it's new. I think we've sort of perhaps got this out of our system with something internal that we can say, okay, we've learned from this. But if someone comes to us and be like, oh, do you want an AI film? It's like, well, okay,
what story
are you trying to tell? Do we benefit from doing it with AI or do we not? The answer might be yes or no, but
also, does the company benefit from it?
Yeah.
Do you benefit? Just because I think, again, I'll go back to saying about this sort of misnomer about doing AI is cheaper. It's not cheaper. You can just do more kind of wacky things a bit cheaper, because you don't need... Well, you still need to do VFX. You still need to have a human hand holding these platforms, don't you? But don't think that it's going to be a cheaper process to do this. I think that's the thing that kind of need to be a bit clear about. This is it still takes a lot of time, energy, and effort, to create a film, whether it's this or it's a a film for a brand, but also just be really careful and understand why you're going down this AI route. So just to finish off, Harry, I'm going to put you slightly on the spot here, just to give you a bit of a heads up. What kind of 5 tips would you have for someone or a client, prospect, thinking about doing an AI film? So what would be kind of your ranking order?
I think number 1 is what I've just said is, why do you want to do an AI film? What is the story and the purpose of what you're trying to achieve? Are you actually helping yourself by doing AI, or is it just something you want to jump on the trend of? So that's number 1. If you are thinking of doing an AI film, I think being aware of the pitfalls of making something trying to be photoreal and using humans. I think that one of the strengths of this is that it's non-human characters in a paper mache world. That really helps mitigate a lot of the downfalls of the AI.
Don't within the context of what you just said, don't try and emulate any of the big animation studios in Hollywood either. Don't do that.
Yeah, be aware of the copyright issues as well. Because you can quite easily just create. You could do a whole Star Wars film with AI.
Absolutely.
It will just give you that imagery. And, so you got to be careful of that. Make sure you stay focused on the story and the emotion of what you're trying to tell, and don't get sort of distracted by the capabilities of the AI. And five, as I've said, adapt to whatever it gives you. If it gives you something that still works, but it's not exactly what you're trying to get, you might lose your mind trying to get it to give you exactly what you want. If it gives you something good, try and follow it in that direction, and allow yourself to create the best that you can out of what it gives you.
I think you know what, and it always comes back to it, doesn't it? However many times we do these chats, how many podcasts we do, it always comes back to the same thing: story. Yeah, it's the power of story, and if you get the power of the story right, the film will work. Yeah. Whichever way you want to create the film. If you haven't seen this frankly beautiful and heartwarming Christmas film, then take a look at the link below this and you'll be able to watch it in full. We'd love to hear your comments of what you think about it. Thank you for watching.